The year is 1066, a year that would forever alter the course of English history, a date etched in the annals of time, marking the beginning of a new era. William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, sets his sights on England. The Battle of Hastings, a pivotal moment, a clash of titans that will reshape England forever, a battle that would decide the fate of a nation. The Normans, originally Vikings who had settled in France, were about to leave an indelible mark on the world. They were not just fierce warriors but also shrewd and strategic rulers. Their victory at Hastings wasn't just about military strength, it was a testament to their strategic brilliance. It was about changing the very fabric of English society, from its governance to its culture. This is the story of how the Normans, through cunning strategy and ruthless efficiency, established control over England, transforming it in the process. It's a story of military power, administrative reforms, and cultural change that would ripple through the ages. It's a story that echoes through the centuries, shaping the England we know today, influencing its architecture, its laws, and its very identity. The Normans were masters of warfare. They were raised on horseback, their cavalry a force to be reckoned with. Their secret weapon? The combination of cavalry and archers. Imagine this, heavily armored knights charging into battle supported by a hail of arrows. A deadly combination. At Hastings, the English fought bravely. But their axes were no match for Norman arrows and cavalry charges. The death of King Harold was the final blow. England was ripe for the taking. But conquest was only the first step. To control England, the Normans needed more than just military might. They needed to establish a system of government. They needed to secure their hold on the conquered land. The Normans brought with them a system of government known as feudalism. Think of it as a pyramid of power. At the top was the king, William the Conqueror himself. He granted land to his loyal followers, the barons, in exchange for military service. These barons, in turn, granted smaller pieces of land to knights. At the bottom of the pyramid were the peasants who worked the land. This system ensured loyalty and control. Everyone answered to someone above them. To further solidify their control, the Normans built castles. These weren't just defensive structures, they were symbols of Norman power, strategically placed to dominate the landscape. Castles were the backbone of Norman rule. They were built quickly, often on the sites of old English fortifications, massive stone structures designed to intimidate and overpower. Towering over towns and villages, they were a constant reminder of Norman authority. These castles served multiple purposes. They were military strongholds, administrative centers, and residences for Norman lords. They provided safety for the Normans and a base from which to control the surrounding countryside. The imposition of the Norman legal system further solidified their grip on power, ensuring justice was served, Norman style. Section 5, Law and Order, the Norman legal system. The Normans, after their conquest of England in 1066, brought with them a distinct and structured legal system that was quite different from the existing Anglo-Saxon laws. The Normans were big on law and order. They believed in a strong, centralized authority to maintain peace and stability across their newly acquired territories. They brought their own legal system, which was different from the English system. This new system included various forms of trials and legal proceedings that were unfamiliar to the English people. They introduced trial by combat, where disputes were settled through duels. This method was based on the belief that divine intervention would ensure the righteous party would emerge victorious. It might sound strange, but it was seen as a way of letting God decide the outcome. The idea was that God would protect the innocent and allow them to win the combat. They also used trial by ordeal, where the accused had to undergo a painful experience, like holding a hot iron or being submerged in water. If their wounds healed quickly, they were considered innocent. This was seen as a sign of divine favor and proof of their innocence. These methods may seem barbaric today, but they were common practice in medieval times. They reflected the deeply religious and superstitious nature of the society. But perhaps the most significant change the Normans brought was the introduction of the French language into English courts and government. This had a lasting impact on the English legal system and the development of the English language itself, influencing legal terminology and court procedures for centuries to come. Section 6, the language of power, French in Norman England. The Normans spoke French. After the conquest, French became the language of the ruling class. English was still spoken by the common people, but in the courts, in government, and in high society, French reigned supreme. Imagine being an English peasant brought before a Norman court. You wouldn't understand a word being said. This language barrier created a divide between the rulers and the ruled. It also had a profound impact on the English language itself. Over time, French words and phrases seeped into the English language. This blending of languages is a testament to the cultural exchange that occurred during the Norman period. Section 7. Blending Cultures: The Norman Impact on English Life. The Norman Conquest wasn't just a political and military takeover, it was a cultural collision. The Normans brought their own customs, traditions, and beliefs to England. They intermarried with the English nobility, creating a new ruling class. Norman fashions, food, and architecture began to appear. The English way of life was forever changed. This wasn't a one-way street, however. The Normans didn't completely erase English culture. They absorbed elements of English life, adapting and evolving. One of the most visible and lasting impacts of Norman rule can be seen in the majestic cathedrals and castles they built across the land. Section 8. Building for Eternity: Norman Architecture. The Normans were prolific builders. They erected magnificent cathedrals and castles, showcasing their power and piety. Norman architecture was characterized by its grandeur, its use of stone, and its distinctive rounded arches. Think of Durham Cathedral, with its massive pillars and soaring nave, or the Tower of London, a formidable fortress that has stood for centuries. These structures weren't just buildings, they were statements. They spoke of Norman ambition, their engineering prowess, and their desire to leave a lasting legacy on the land they now ruled. The Norman impact on English society wasn't confined to stone and mortar. It went far deeper, shaping the very fabric of English life. Section 9. The Norman Legacy: A Lasting Impact. The Norman Conquest was a turning point in English history. It brought about profound changes that continue to shape England today. The feudal system, introduced by the Normans, laid the foundation for England's political and social structure. The Norman legal system, with its emphasis on law and order, influenced the development of English common law. And of course, the French language, brought over by the Normans, enriched and transformed the English language. Even today, echoes of the Norman Conquest can be heard in our language, seen in our architecture, and felt in our institutions. The Normans left an indelible mark on England, shaping the nation into the country it is today. Section 10. Conclusion: Lessons from the Norman Conquest. The Norman Conquest is not just a distant historical event. It is a pivotal moment that reshaped the course of English history and left an indelible mark on the cultural and political landscape of Europe. It's a story full of lessons about power, adaptation, and the enduring legacy of conquest. The Normans, led by William the Conqueror, demonstrated how a determined and strategic approach could alter the fate of nations. The Normans were ruthless and ambitious, but they were also adaptable and pragmatic. They didn't just conquer, they integrated and transformed the societies they dominated, blending their own customs with those of the Anglo-Saxons. They understood that true power lay not just in military might, but in establishing a system of government that ensured control, integrating and adapting to the existing structures while imposing their own. This dual approach of force and diplomacy allowed them to maintain their hold over England and expand their influence. Their story reminds us that history is shaped by those who seize opportunity and adapt to change. The Normans' ability to adapt to their new environment and to the people they ruled over was key to their long-term success. The Norman Conquest serves as a reminder that the past is never truly past. The changes they implemented in governance, architecture, and culture have had lasting impacts that are still evident today. It continues to shape our present, just as the events of today will undoubtedly shape the future. The legacy of the Normans is a testament to the enduring power of strategic vision and adaptability in the face of change. Section 11. Bibliography. Bates, David. William the Conqueror. Stroud Tempest, 2004. Huscroft, Richard. The Norman Conquest. A New Introduction. New York. Longman, 2009. Thomas, Hugh M. The Norman Conquest. England after William the Conqueror. New York, Simon & Schuster, 2003.